Hi and welcome again to the South China Morning Post's Racing Podcast. It's Thursday, October 1, Chinese National Day, and that means holiday racing at Sha Tin. But first to the news. Well, a very light week for news, a very quiet week indeed, with the only real announcement of note from the stipendiary stewards who have ruled their new policy in a situation which occurred at Happy Valley last midweek meeting when Prebble had to be replaced on Victory Mascot. The stewards have ruled that in similar situations in the future, they will order the jockey to ride at 2 pounds overweight despite having been declared at 1 pound overweight, and that they reserve the right to fine jockeys and trainers over such variations. Now, this was dealt with by me in the rails on Wednesday, the On the Rails column, and you can find that along with the rest of this week's On the Rails at www.racing.scmp.com for further details of just what it was all about. Well, with no further ado, let's go to today's feature, one of the first big races of the season. That's the National Day Cup. Down through the years, it's had all sorts of results. It's only been going for 11 years, but 4 outright favourites have scored, including Fellowship 12 months ago on this day, and he's trying to win back-to-back National Day Cups today. But there have also been 7 winners at odds of double figures and better, including several very long prices, and included amongst those Prime Witness at 70 to 1. So it is a race that can throw up a surprise, but has tended to favour the horses in the bottom half of the weights. So bear that in mind when you're looking at the form for the National Day Cup. I've gone for a horse who is down in the weights to some extent, and that's Express Win. Now, Express Win in his first season in Hong Kong certainly looked nothing out of the ordinary, but he really came good last season as a 5-year-old, and towards the back end of the season was running very consistently in races like the National Day Cup, with 2 placings at this level, 2nd in the Hong Kong Macau Trophy and 3rd in the Premier Cup at his last appearance before the break. Now, notably, both of those races were over the Sha Tin 1400 metres. And if you're looking at his first up run and you see 8th of 11, it was a lot better run than it looked. On that occasion, Express Win drew wide, jockey Howard Cheng was forced to go back, and then he was forced wide on the track by Prebble on Brilliant Chapter in the race, and didn't do a bad job closing off his race once he got balanced in the straight. Now, 1200 metres there, probably a bit on the short side for Express Win. Prebble goes onto him today over the extra 200 metres, and I think Express Win is the horse down in the weights who can knock them over. A clear danger in Nightlign, bidding to be the first horse ever to win the Chief Executives Cup and the National Day Cup in the same season. A couple have been close before, Smart Winner in 2002, and 2 years later Town of Fion, but no horse has actually performed the feat. He'll get a nice run behind them from his inside draw, and he does qualify as a horse right down in the weights with just 115 pounds to carry. But for me, in the National Day Cup today, the feature at Sha Tin, it's Race 8, number 9, Express Win. Well, Jockey Challenge time, and odds makers last night opened up Prebble at 2.4 and Matthew Chadwick at 2.9 as the dominant favourites in the Jockey Challenge, but the early shoppers went straight into Matthew Chadwick's price. He firmed to 2.7, while Prebble got out slightly to 2.5, and I'm with the early shoppers. Matthew Chadwick looks to get a free kick in the first race with the likely short price favourite Forest Star, and that should set him on his way, and he's going to be very tough to beat in today's Jockey Challenge. Punters looking for a little bit more return for their dollar though. They might try Darren Beadmen. Now, Beadmen's only got 5 rides in the last 5 races on the card, so it could possibly be beyond his reach by then, and you'll be dicing with the odds if you take the early $14 quote. But if Brett Prebble and Matthew Chadwick fail to take advantage of their early good rides, I think you'll see Darren Beadmen as the firmer in-play betting as we go into the second half of the card. Best bets. Well, mine comes very early, and as stated earlier, race 1, number 3, Forest Star, just looks the winner of the opening race. He was always off the track, back in the field, first up, still ran on to finish third, and the 2 horses that beat him, Ambitious Treasure and Flying Colours, came out to win again last weekend. I think it's very strong form, and race 1, number 3, Forest Star, from the Tony Cruz stable, is my best for the afternoon. Well, that's all we have for you on today's racing podcast. For more on Hong Kong racing news and issues, take a look online at racing.scmp.com or pick up your copy of today's South China Morning Post with the big lift-out guide to National Day at Sha Tin inside. I'm Alan Aitken. Good punting.